Hello and welcome back to my channel, which is all about style and confidence for the 50+ woman. In today's video, I want to give you 5 tips for looking and feeling confident in your 50s and beyond. So let's get started. So my first tip, not surprisingly, is about colour. And I wanted to clear up what I think could be a little bit of a misconception, is that as we get older and if we decide that we want to embrace the grey that's coming in our hair, there's a little bit of a misconception that that makes you cool or a cool dominant, and that isn't necessarily true, because if you're, say, like me, who has a warm skin tone, no matter how grey I go, my skin tone isn't going to become cool. So I won't actually go into the cool category when I've got grey hair. So I'm going to put in a couple of pictures for you because I think that will explain it a little bit better. So if you are somebody who is light in colouring, or perhaps you're soft in colouring but you've got blonde hair, now what can happen with those people is that as their hair starts to go grey, sometimes what it can do is become more white than it is silvery. So it might give the effect that rather than going silvery cool, you're actually getting lighter. So especially for a light person, if they've got really blonde hair, it's unlikely that they're going to have grey. What's probably going to happen is that they're going to have white hair growing in. And so that will actually make their look even lighter. And for somebody who is soft in colouring and has blonde hair, then they could also become light instead of, move out of that soft category into the light one. So as I said, I'm going to pop a few pictures in here for you to explain this. So if you're blonde and you're currently either light or soft, it might be that you will either stay as light or you might go from soft to light. Now, if you're somebody who is deep in colouring, if you're deep and cool, then it is likely that you will move into the cool category, because what will probably happen is as your hair goes grey, it will become quite silvery. And so you'll move from that deep category where you're, very dark with dark eyes into the cool category with the silvery grey hair. And then for the person who is deep and warm, which is what I used to be, what will probably happen is that your hair will soften the effect. So rather than you being deep, your colouring will lighten, because that grey hair that's coming in is lightening your overall look. So rather than moving into the cool dominant, because you were deep and you had a warm skin tone, what will probably happen is that you will become soft, still with your warm skin tone. So your dominant will probably move from deep to soft. And then obviously for those of you who had a cool skin tone anyway, if you go silvery grey, then you would move into the dominant cool category. So I hope that clears that little misconception up a little bit. So the first tip really is to understand what's happening with your colouring. So if your hair is going grey and you do want to let it go grey, if you want to stop using dye, which I think a lot of us have got really used to not having colour in our hair over the last 3 months or so, if you decide that you do want to embrace that grey, then you need to think about what your colouring is now and whether it's going to move you into a cool dominant or not. So if you do need any help with that, I will leave my colour service linked in the description box, because I've had quite a few ladies who've come to me recently saying, well, my hair's going grey, and I actually had one this week whose hair was going grey, but it didn't put her into the cool dominant, it did actually put her into the light dominant. And tip number 2 kind of links in with that. So once you have determined what your best colours are now, the next tip is to make sure that you use those colours in a way that works for you. And that is understanding how you mix colours. Because if your dominant is soft, you're going to look best with a mixture of blended colours. So not too much contrast, not a light colour with a dark colour, or a soft colour with a bright colour. You're going to look best with a range of soft colours that all blend beautifully with each other. So nothing is competing, nothing is standing out more than one of the other colours. If you're deep or cool in colouring, then you can get away with contrast. And obviously the bright person looks really good with contrast. So once you know what your colouring is, pay attention to the information that you get about how to actually wear those colours and wear them in a way that really does work for you. So the other thing to think about is, of those colours, which colours look really, really good up close to your face. And we've all got colours in our palette which are going to be our real wow colours. Now, any colour that's in your palette does suit you, but there will be some that really make you feel good. So with those colours, make sure that you use those if it's a special occasion, if you want to particularly have confidence, if you're getting dressed up for something, or just on a day when you want to brighten your mood. Use those really wow colours and get them as close to your face as you can. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with a piece of clothing, it could be a piece of jewellery, it could be with a scarf. It might be that if you're wearing a blazer to the office, you put a top in a really good colour underneath it. So that's tip number 2, is to think about how you use your colours. Tip number 3 is to embrace elastication. And with this one, I want to talk about elasticated waists, because those of you who are a similar age to me will be thinking back to your granny, who when she got to 50, which was ancient in those days, or to 60 even, which we couldn't even comprehend, then they would all go into elasticated waists. And it's something that we probably thought, you will never see me dead in an elasticated waist. But honestly, I have to say that once you get over 50, if you're one of those people who has expanded in the mid area, which is really common, it's really common for us to lose our waistline at this point, or to thicken out in the mid area. That is a symptom of the menopause. It's not anything you're doing wrong with what you're eating or how you're exercising. Unfortunately, it is very common. And you will find that waistbands can become the bane of your life. Now, for me, I've got to the point now where I do not like a fixed waistband on anything. It's very rare that I will now wear one. That doesn't mean that, you know, I'm in my granny elasticated. But if you look at so many clothes now, like if you've got a bias cut skirt, it probably doesn't have a waistband on it. The Eileen Fisher trousers, which I love so much, don't have any fastenings, they pull on, they sit really comfortably. A lot of the linen trousers that I have in my wardrobe, they may be flat across the front and have elastication around the back. And I would say just try some of them on, because when you've sat perhaps at your desk or in a car for several hours and you get up and that waistband is really digging into you and it is so uncomfortable, do yourself a favour and find yourself some elasticated waists. Now, I bet you didn't think that was going to be one of the tips, did you? But honestly, it will change your life. Now, tip number 4, kind of going along with that, is thinking about what makes you feel good and what makes you feel confident. I know that for me, if I'm going out somewhere, I want to make sure that I do my makeup. I want my makeup to look really nice. I want my hair to look nice. And then if on top of that you put on your best colours, you're going to look and feel good. And one thing that I want to say about makeup is, as you get beyond 50, if you do start to get a few of those wrinkles, what you want to do is to look for makeup that works with that. So some of what I would call the younger brands, like MAC for example, shimmering eyeshadows or eyeshadows with little bits in them, aren't going to do you any favours. What you want is an eyeshadow that goes on really nicely. So I've probably said this in the past, but I always use an eye base before I put eyeshadow on. And the eye base that I use, there's one of two. I used to always use the Bobbi Brown cream eyeshadow, and they have replaced it with a stick. So they do still do a long-lasting eye colour, but it's a stick. The other one that I use is the Laura Mercier eye base. I will link both of these for you, and I'll also put in there which colours I use, because again, I use one that is a fairly neutral colour, and that really helps the eyeshadow to stay put, because obviously as you get older and your eyes get drier, it can tend to sort of clump a little bit or go into the creases. So if you've got a really good base on your eyeshadow, it will make it last longer. And then with those eyeshadows, and this is also true of lipsticks, blushes and foundations, I would recommend that you don't use matte formulations, because they do tend to be a little bit drying, and a matte foundation again will go into any little wrinkles that you have on the skin. So if you use a cream formulation and you use something that has got again a little bit of sheen in it, then that will work much better. And this is also true of lipstick. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slot in a little bit of video of me wearing a matte lipstick, and then coming back to me wearing this lipstick. So first of all, I wanted to show you what a matte lipstick looks like. Now, as we get over the age of 50, we do look an awful lot better in a lipstick that has a little bit of a gleam to it. And I don't necessarily mean something shimmery, but I think for me, this lipstick is too matte. It's also a little bit dark. It's not really bright enough either. It's not very flattering for me. So getting a really good lipstick is important. And now I'm going to show you one that I do like on me. So here's a lipstick which you will have seen me wearing a lot. It's one of my absolute favourites. It's just a little bit brighter, it's a little bit warmer, and it has got a little bit of a sheen to it. So when you're looking for lipsticks, rather than looking for something that is a cream or a matte lipstick, look for one that is either sheer or has a bit of balm in it, or one that's got a little bit of a sheen to it. I don't mean sparkle, I don't mean like those awful old pink sparkly lipsticks that women of a certain age used to wear. So have a look through your lipsticks and make sure that they are doing you favours and not aging you. And if you do want any advice, then please do leave me a comment in the comments section. This is also true of foundations. That doesn't mean to say you can't powder your foundation to make it stay in place. If you use a translucent powder and just use it with a big brush and swirl it on, then that works really well to set the foundation. But try not to go for anything that is too thick a cream or too matte, because as I say, it does tend to stick in the fine lines that are starting to appear around the face. And then tip number 5 is join Stylish at 50. I wanted to promote this a little bit because I really do believe in this membership. If you have any issues with how to dress, how to do your makeup, what colours to wear, then I promise you will get so much out of Stylish at 50. The members are very welcome just to send me an email to say, I'm not sure what's happening with my colouring now, or I want to try and find a dress shape that works for me. So you can get one-to-one help from me with Stylish at 50. I will leave some information about it in the description box. It's a little bit cheeky that I am promoting it as one of my tips, but I promise you it will really help you. So that's it for today, just 5 quick tips for you. If you have any questions, then please do leave them down in the comments section. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then I would love it if you did. If you click on the little bell, you'll get notifications of when I release new videos. All of my videos are always about how to look and feel good in your 50s and beyond. I give you lots of tips on things like colour, capsule wardrobes, outfit ideas. If you have any suggestions of things that you would like to see, then again, please do leave them in the comments section. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.